So you want to lose weight. You've been trying different diets. Maybe you've tried keto, maybe you've tried intermittent fasting, carnivore. Maybe you've been on the totally other side of the spectrum. You've done vegan or vegetarian. But something always happens. You always slip up. Maybe you're a week in, maybe you're 2 weeks in, but sure enough, you inevitably go out for that inevitable cheat meal. And what is the cheat meal? It's the standard American diet. There's a few common ingredients that are all part of the standard American diet, which has resulted in the obesity epidemic that's happening worldwide. This used to be isolated just here in the United States, but unfortunately now this has spread to Europe, Australia, and even some parts of Asia are now getting fully wrapped up in the standard American diet. What exactly am I talking about here? There are ingredients that go into almost all the foods that you find at restaurants and in grocery stores that haven't really been around that long, maybe 100 years tops. Some of the key offenders are going to be high fructose corn syrup, bleached wheat flour, any sort of vegetable oil from canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower seed oil. They're all equally bad for you. The combination of these ingredients, along with a plethora of other additives like preservatives, you got sodium nitrate and nitrate, you got potassium acidiflume, that's the preservative side of things. Then you've got the food dyes, you got your yellow 1, your red 40. These things are all going to make an amalgam of different problems that go into your body that's going to be wreaking all kinds of havoc. Not only does it cause inflammation, it's going to lead to the rot of your internal organs, and unfortunately, if you have enough of it, it can result in heart failure. Let's face it, the standard American diet is substance abuse. It's just as bad as any substance abuse that you've heard of. I can't name things by name on YouTube, but things that you would smoke or drink, or things that might get injected or go up the nostrils. The standard American diet, it truly is just as bad because it all leads to the same place, which is you not living as long as you should. We live in the most advanced healthcare that has ever been known in human history. So why is it that people are now getting heart disease at 50 years old, 60 years old? Everybody across the board should be making it to their late 90s or even the early 100s, assuming they don't fall victim to natural disasters and other types of accidents that result in that type of passing away. But natural causes certainly should not be happening in the 50 to 60 range. This is unfortunately an epidemic that is not widely talked about yet, but my goal is to spread the word so that people will. If you're getting on a diet, that means that you at some level understand that the standard American diet is not working. But just like any other substance abuse, getting off it can be very difficult because your body has relied on it for so long. It's built up a dependency to continue getting that. That is why people go out for cheat meals, whether they're on the vegan or vegetarian or carnivore, keto, it doesn't matter. There's a cheat meal right around the corner. The solution is to remove these elements from your diet. If you do that, you're going to be on the pathway to success. But for a lot of people, they struggle with that. Let me present to you guys an analogy. I think this is going to resonate with a lot of you. Hopefully, and not a lot of you are smokers, but maybe some of you are. Let's take an imaginary guy. His name is Steve. Steve doesn't smoke. Let's say that me, I'm just being a bad guy. I go up to Steve. I say, "Hey Steve, do you want a cigarette?" You know what he's probably not going to ask me? Well, what brand is it? What's the cut? Is it mellow? Is it bold? He's not going to ask me any of these questions because Steve doesn't smoke. Smoking is not something that Steve identifies with. So for him, it makes no sense to even contemplate having the cigarette. Much in the same way of the standard American diet, you can develop this mindset that you no longer have any desire to have some of these junk foods that are really laden with high fructose corn syrup and laden with soybean oil and other vegetable oils, of course. I'll give you another direct example. I have not had any sort of pop in years. So if you were to say to me, "Andrew, do you want a pop?" I'm not going to ask you, well, is it Mountain Dew or Coca-Cola? Because I don't drink pop. I will say, nope, I'm totally happy just having my Fiji waters right here. And I'm good with that. To me, the idea of having high fructose corn syrup in some form of liquid is just not something I identify with. I cut it out years ago, and I don't see myself ever having it again for the rest of my entire life. These things are all very possible. You just need to tweak some of the thoughts in your own head about how you identify with food. Let's face it, food is a big deal culturally, and it's a big deal in our communities. The saying is, you are what you eat. This goes beyond just diet, beyond just calories in and calories out, macros, all of that. This also goes into culture. People share meals together. People eat together. It can be very personal for people to be making giant diet changes. So it truly is an element of your own identity. When you remove the corn syrup, when you remove the vegetable oils, you are now saying, I no longer identify with that kind of food. If you do that, it becomes natural that you head back towards the organic foods. And let's face it, organic is just a buzzword. All food is organic. In fact, the implication that something is not organic should be a big red flag to you. It means that it has been tinkered with. There is some reason why it's cheaper than what else is available. But it's not always this easy to just give something up. Now, is it? There's going to be another strategy. This has worked so well for me in the past, and I'm going to share it with you now. This strategy will keep you from backsliding on your diet, and it's so effective, it actually works on other things too. If you're trying to quit smoking, if you're trying to quit drinking, or any other type of substance abuse, this strategy is going to go so far at getting rid of that. Now, I want to paint a picture in your mind. When you go to school and you graduate, what happens? There's a ceremony. Humans have always thought of their own lives in terms of chapters and not a continuous stream of consciousness. That's why when you have a large event in your life, when it's concluded, there's oftentimes some sort of ceremony to show that a chapter has closed. When it comes to kicking a really bad habit or getting on a good diet that's not the standard American diet, it's so helpful and beneficial to see this as a chapter in your life that is closing so that a new chapter can open up. My strategy is that you need to ceremonially have a burial for your destructive habit. What does this mean? I take this quite literally. I had trouble for years quitting cigarettes. The thing that worked finally was that I took a pack that I had only had maybe 3 or 4 cigarettes from, and I quite literally threw it in the trash. By doing that, there was a mental severance. I was closing that chapter of my life. End of story. Now the new chapter can begin. I'm happy to say, since then, I have not had a single cigarette. The same can be applied to drinking. If you have hard drinks in the house, of course I can't use the words because of YouTube censorship. If you have hard drinks, pouring them down the sink, it has the same effect. Once you see it leaving, there's that ceremonial burial. It's going to allow you to now begin your new chapter. This takes that part of you that was part of your identity, and it puts it in the previous chapter of your life. Now you're clean to start the new one. If you're skeptical of this, just try it. Go through your pantry tonight. Find something that has high fructose corn syrup or some sort of vegetable oil in it, or enriched wheat flour. Maybe it's got the food dyes. Just pick something and throw it away. You're going to feel a mental break while you do this. It's going to be so relieving. It's going to feel so good, and it's going to make it possible for you to now start your new life. Now, finally, you do have to eventually let go of this idea of balance. It's something that we see everywhere, and it's something a lot of different fitness influencers also peddle, is the idea that it's okay to go out and have a little bit. This is something I actually disagree with. If I were to say to somebody, oh, I'm just gonna go out and do a little bit, you would probably say to me, that's crazy. You shouldn't be doing that at all, not even a single time. But I'll say, but it's a Friday and I haven't done it all week. What's the big deal? I've been good 5 days in a row. You would say, no, Andrew, stop. You can't be doing that, not even a single time. But for some reason, people make the exception with the food, despite the fact that these foods have a direct correlation to heart disease, which means that you're dying in your 50s and your 60s, which in some cases is even worse than the other thing that I had to do so I don't get the censorship. And that activity, for what it's worth, probably won't kill you unless you do an insane amount of it. Whereas with the standard American diet, because you're having it literally every day, in my opinion, that is more lethal than the other substances that people already know they shouldn't be doing. This is just my opinion, but I can't say with any degree of confidence that there's any reason that you have to have an Oreo cookie or a McDonald's Big Mac that's been smothered in some sort of high fructose corn syrup sauce laden with a bunch of vegetable oils. Just because someone tells you that you should want something doesn't mean that you actually do. At no point in human history was anybody eating like this until around the 1950s, because these ingredients didn't exist yet. Everybody was on the organic diet by default for about, 99% of human history. At that point, that's not an opinion, that's just facts. I'm not saying that anyone has to be keto or carnivore or paleo or vegan or vegetarian, because when you strip away all of the terrible things that have gone into the standard American diet, the reality is you probably are going to find success with all of those diets because they all share a common theme. They remove the toxic elements that have been included into our food. We are being poisoned. We are being poisoned. But I do want to close with some encouragement. I myself used to be overweight. At my heaviest, I was 240 pounds, drank a ton of Mountain Dew, drank a lot of beer. I had a lot of things going wrong in my life. I was able to reverse all of that. You're never too old. It's never too late to start. You can start tonight. No matter what your weight is, you can get back down to the body size that your body was meant to be. Somewhere between 12 and 16% body fat for men, and then somewhere between 15 and 20% body fat for women. Not everybody has to become a bodybuilder or a professional endurance athlete, but the potential is there for 100% of the human population to get down to that lean physique. And truthfully, I do think that society would be better for it. Look, it doesn't do me any good to be the only in shape person in my life. I want the people that I'm around to be sharing all of these experiences with me, because it's not enough that I just want to be proud of myself. I want to be proud of the person standing to the left and to the right of me. I want to see fitness not just be a community, I want fitness to become society. It's all about overwriting the things that have been pumped into our brains for the past 75 years and turning a new chapter. So I invite you to join me with this journey. If you liked this video, go ahead and like it. Also subscribe to the channel. I'll have new content coming out like this very video twice per week, and then I have a live stream that I do every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It's a Q&A format. Come as you are, ask me questions. I will help you out with whatever you're working on. Until then, you guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.